Tonight on our Great American panel, he was the national campaign manager for Howard Dean's presidential campaign. Democratic strategist, Fox News contributor Joe Trippi is here. I can't resist Joe. He's a former New York Republican congressman, is currently running for U.S. Senate. Joe DioGuardi is here. By the way, I'm a big fan of his daughter on American Idol, Kara. She's awesome. American panel. All right, let's look big picture here for just a second. All right, so the economy is not turning around. Unemployment still remains high. Record debt, record deficit.
That keeps going up.
That keeps going up. We've got these scandals, pay to play, Sestak and Romanoff. That hasn't gone away yet, even though we haven't been talking about it as much. Oil spilled now. All that oil is going to make it on shore, and we've got an election in 145 days. What impact do these converging events have on the election?
I think what it says is that, frankly, Obama's lost his golden touch. I think the interesting part about especially Sestak and Romanoff, how could he not convince these two relatively obscure guys to come and work in the rock star White House? I think the bloom is off the rose, maybe. He's not getting what he needs to get done. And I think where Democrats are concerned in November, there's guilt by association. They're just not looking competent.
You're running for the U.S. Senate in what probably is, New York is a hard state. You're running
Very tough. But I got a good message. You ready for it? Mm-hmm. We're spending money we don't have. We're borrowing from countries that don't share our values, that we don't trust, like China. And guess what? We're putting the American dream in jeopardy. We're building debt, not jobs. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is the issue. And you're running against
the candidate that basically supports everything Obama does.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But just putting on your political analytical hat here, because right. You're more partisan, you're more Democrat. If you're running campaigns, you're nervous about now. You have to be.
Well, first of all, look, this is going to be a bad year for incumbents. We're seeing that everywhere. And I keep cautioning Republicans to understand they're going to be Republican incumbents go out the window too. But yeah, Democrats are in trouble. We're in charge of the White House, the Senate, the House.
Who own it.
Yeah.
And you caused it.
Look,
the
there were a lot of problems that got caused by a lot of administrations that ended up on everybody's plate right now.
To what extent is it that Obama doesn't listen to the people on immigration, doesn't listen to the polls on health care, doesn't listen to the polls that radical Islam is an enemy of the United States? We can't say war on terror. To what extent is he out of touch now with the American people?
Look, he got elected. He won the election.
Post-election. He's a different person now.
Yeah, he's not there to follow polls. I think the guy's made that. I mean, he's made that abundantly clear on health care. He didn't. If you anybody, anybody with
another way to interpret that. The American people be damned.
No, he can't take the temperature of a room very well. I mean, and the oil spill is a perfect example.
It's about, I was elected, I'm going to pass health care reform, I'm going to bust my rear to do it. And he did. And he didn't, and that's, a leader doesn't listen to the
shows that the American people didn't want it.
Go back to the big issue. Do you know what happened in the Gallup poll last week? The debt passed jobs as the number one issue. And you think the debt is just $12.8 trillion? That's what's bonded. What about the $45 trillion for Social Security and Medicare?
Sure.
They don't trust funds.
We're broke.
All the money that was put in there for years was spent. It's now got to be replaced. The baby boomers want their money, and the economy's bad. For the first time in 40 years, we're now going to have less money going into the trust funds than coming out.
No, and those are all valid points, and these are the coming problems. But when nearly 70% of the American people think this country is severely on the wrong track, Joe.
Right, when you got the economy where it is, and you have the oil spill, and all the things that you listed when you started this segment, yeah, that's exactly where people are going to be.
That's not an anti-incumbent thing, then.
The fact that he doesn't have
watch what happens in November, and we'll see how anti-incumbent
he doesn't have executive experience. Aren't we seeing that he's a novice that can't make a decision, can't lead?
That's not
lack of action.
He had an agenda and has an agenda, and he's been pushing
ideologically hard left, no moderation.
The whole point here is you're president of the United States, yet you move forward on an agenda you think's best for the American people. They can vote you out 4 years from now, or they can score. And he put his career on the line to do it. He deserves some credit.
I don't think he's emerged as a leader. I think he's emerged as a politician, and I used to think a very skilled one. I don't anymore. I don't see him.
Well, the handling of BP says it all.
Right.
He just waited and waited, and now we're trying to figure out what the problem is. You got to run in there when you have a disaster of that magnitude. You got to hit the ground running.
Guys, thanks for being with us. Great panel tonight. That's all the time we have left. As always, thank you for being with us.